Okay, good. Okay, we'll open the meeting and we'll open with a karakia from Lorna.
Ia tau te rangi Māori ai. I roto I tēnei whare, o tātou I tēnei wā, ki hei Māori ora. Means let there be peace in this house among us here, among us all here today. Behold the breath of life.
Thank you. Okay, says public forum, no speakers, but we have actually organised Sarah Whelan to come here at 1:15 as she wanted to talk to us. At the time, we didn't realise that it would conflict with Boyo being here because we didn't realise that was happening. So I'll just get through this as fast here as I can. There's going to be a public excluded item. It's an oral update, and that will also be from Sarah. Health and safety briefing in the event of emergency. Evacuation, please leave the building via the marked exits and assemble out the front of the building on Emery Avenue. No apologies today. Nope. Announced urgent business. I had a couple of quick little things myself, so I wanted to talk about Anzac Reef. And also a road trip now that we have a full membership of the board. And I received an email at the last minute regarding wanting to put a seat somewhere, and I think I can just add that into the one that Tom's going to talk about too. Anything else, please? Nope. Okay. So we'll carry on new member inductions. So
bringing down the conflict of interest.
Oh, I missed that one. Sorry. Is there any conflict of interest?
I've given you mine, yeah.
So Lorna is, and that's in relation to the Emery Arts Council.
So I might need some clarification over the Brooke Dawson seat, because the application for that has been directed through me. The applicant is a friend and a member of a club that I am part of. I think that I am probably okay to vote on it. I would possibly seek advice at the time.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. We'll try and get on with this so that we're done by the time Sarah arrives. Thank you. Okay, so Hamish, over to you.
Thank you. So, Boy, what you've got in front of you there is your statutory declaration, and if you would just read that out, and then you and I will sign that off, and that makes you a member of this board.
Do you want to stand? Or?
No, well, you can stand. You can say whatever you're comfortable with.
Nice to stand. I, Boya Sarah Holoso, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Orally District the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Hanmer Springs Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Thank you. That's it. Let's sign that one off, and I will do it.
Can I take a picture of the photo?
Where?
It's a good yeah. It's not like a small like this. Yeah, for the word. Oh.
Congratulations. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy it as much as we do most of the time. You'll be fine.
Madam Chair, the other part that goes with this is the legislation brief, which starts on page 6 of the agenda. And I know you've been through it before, but it's an important part to understand that when you talked about some of these acts here, that legislation exists and what it means. I'm not going to go through the whole thing in detail. I presume you won't read it. But really it highlights some of the legislative compliance that you're bound by, some of the statutes that you're bound by, and in particular, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, which is about transparency, the Local Authorities Members Interest Act, which is about conflict of interest, the Crimes Act, which is about bribery and secret commissions and those sorts of things. Bribery, essentially, Secret Commissions Act, which is about secret commissions, and the Financial Markets Conduct Act, which is to do with how we operate in the market and our transparency. Also in here is the Health and Safety at Work Act, as well, and the Local Government Pecuniary Interests Register. So you'll be required to fill out that register with any financial interests that you have, and keep that up to date as we go through. And that is published in a summary format, and it's publicly discoverable. So we can look at that. You don't need to know these acts back front. You don't need to know the detail. That's our job. And we can help advise you on these things. But the fundamentals, I think it's good to understand, and the fundamentals are outlined here. Any questions that you have about these things, you can come to me or to the government's advisors or other members of the board who can all help you out in that regard. So I think that covers it all, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay. So would someone like to move the information be received?
I'll move that.
Second? I'll second. Second move Chris, second Lorna. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay. Okay, I'll start on because it's 1:07 now, so we'll just go through the minutes just to this is for matters of correction at all. So starting on page 12, anything there? Page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16.
Are we getting a report on the Chisholm Ponds at some stage?
I'll mention that when we come back to the, but this is just for matters of correction in the minutes.
Right.
So where was it? Page 14, 15, page 16, page 17.
One little thing on the second last paragraph.
Whereabouts?
Page 17 down the bottom,
Mhm.
the last paragraph. It says, incentivise people to help clear it. No, it was to get commercial operators to go in there, not just people willy-nilly to go and cut the firewood.
Commercial operators rather than people.
Oh, yeah, commercial operators with all the tickets.
Yep.
Which is really-
Page 18, page 19, page 20, 21. So someone like to move those minutes, that one correction on page 17?
You bet.
Moved by Chris, second by Tom. That motion, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. So back to any matters arising from those minutes, page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Did we get any feedback on what the combined reserves cover? Because we were talking about the disc golf and where the funding from that house account would cover redoing the disc golf in Tarndale. And it's not that clear what is combined reserves, whether that is, at the moment it says our delegation, it says Dog Creek Reserve, but that's not even a name that's used anymore. It's either Brook Dawson or Tarndale. So that needs to be clarified. Please.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I don't have any further update on that. We can follow up on that.
Yes, please. The feedback from Chisholm was that at this stage, they weren't planning on doing anything. I think the guys are under the pump a fair bit at the moment with a lot of the cleanup work that they've been doing in the forest. But the feedback I got from the officers was that they felt that it was okay at the moment. But I know it's very spongy around the ground because the water is not flowing freely at the inlet and it's turning back into a swamp. So I think it is something that we need to keep an eye on and probably keep in our action sheet. But yeah, there is a lot going on at the moment. So in terms of Jeff Hill, I've been speaking to him. He's hoping to do the those tree stumps down Argulands Road in the next few days. But he likewise has got a huge amount of work on with cleanup. There is an additional area that needs, and I don't think it's been covered by anything, and that is the corner of Scarborough Terrace and Harrogate Street. There's a tree that came down and it's lifted a seat up and it's all just sitting there propped as well. So at this stage, I've asked him to come back with a quote for us. But I wonder how we can deal with that between meetings. Hamish, can you help there, please? If we decide to, I mean, it does need to be done. And if we decide to, how do we deal with that?
Sorry, I just missed part of that.
Oh,
If you decide to,
deal with the quote for removing the stump on the corner of.
yeah, you could do it intercessionally by exchange of emails. So just if the board members agree to the quote by email, and then you just ratify the fact that you've done that at the final meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody got anything else on page 17? Page 18. Come in, Sarah.
So, Madam Chair, with respect to the decision on the Heritage Forest Trust agreement to support funding for that work, that resolution on page 18. So I sent a letter to the Heritage Trust and Chair got back to me on the weekend saying that Forest Amble still has logging operations going, so we are unable to start any work till they have finished, hopefully next week. So I received this on the weekend. We can make a plan to start work. So with respect to the board agreeing to fund some of that work.
Thank you. Yeah, we did catch up with him this morning at the Track Network group meeting as well. So thank you. But it's good to have that inserted here. And our matters arising. So anything else on page 18? Page 19.
I may, Madam Chair, just in regard to the fibre network and building resiliency and the battery life, which actually enables the telco network. I note in the Civil Defence Emergency Management meeting for Mayoral Forum on Thursday, there's always a lessons learned, and so there's an account of the October wind event. Letters have already gone to the Minister Goldsmith in regard to, and there is funding for remote and rural battery capacity, which would give more. At the moment, I think it talks about 6 to 8 hours capacity, and this once they do this work or with this funding available, they're looking for 24-hour batteries. So the issues that were raised last year, I know Tom and I met with one of your constituents up here, that if we can move that forward and identify, you know, that this is important, that this work is captured in that funding. So I think it was something like $6.4 million to upgrade and have better resilience with battery capacity. So
Just a question in relation to those batteries, is there any way they can be externally charged with a generator? There's a lot of generators here,
They can run sites, they can run the cell sites with generators.
but if they haven't got one, can their batteries be charged by someone's generator? We don't know.
So is there a timing on this?
no, I don't. It'll be interesting to see what's discussed on Thursday when we have the CDM meeting. So I'll just keep posted, but I thought it was interesting, or thought you would be interested, that was one of the lessons learned across, you know, all of the October windstorm event, not just here. So thank you.
Thank you. Nothing else on page 19, page 20, 21.
Are we going to get a report, Tom, from you with regard to this Christmas parade, or Sarah to addressing that? This is you go to the business association.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that when Sarah starts, I think, because it's all tied together. So that should work. The roadworks in the village. At some point, I would like an explanation as to why we have our roads mended with chip seal when it's already got asphaltic concrete, and whether we have any policy, roading policy that says that if we have asphaltic concrete, it should be mended with that. I mean, I noticed going through Amberley, there's been 3 quite big resurfacing there, and it's all been done in asphaltic concrete, which matches what's there. And I'm wondering what the people of Amberley and the council would say had NZTA come back and redone that in chip seal, those patches. And it just doesn't look right. I don't want to go on about it right now because I want to move on, but I would like some feedback at some stage about that, please. Okay, anything else on that page? Fletch has given me some information about the Anzac parade, but I'll also talk about that when Sarah's talking. And there's also a reminder that our workshop for the community boards is 3rd of March at the Waikari Hall. Okay, anything else? Anybody got any other concerns? Okay, Sarah, welcome.
Can I happen to, can you flick me really quickly to put that on the screen? What? I stood on this.
Can I just check with you, Sarah? You wanted to give us an update in excluded session, public excluded. So is this?
Yes, well, will you let me do the public excluded piece at the beginning or the end?
Oh, let's flick into it now then.
Okay, Madam Chair, so yes, so if you can move into public scrutiny,
Okay.
I just need a minute to stop the live stream. And then we can.
Okay, well, I'll move that we,
Great.
I'll move, go into public excluded. Yes. Anyone to second? No. Tom? Okay, put that motion all in favour. Aye, again, carried. And it's for the reasons, the public excluded session is for the reasons that are outlined there. General subject of matters to be considered while public is excluded, the reason for passing this resolution, and specific grounds under section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information Act are as follows. Oral update will contain information withheld for commercial sensitivity.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, Sarah, I just need to stop the live stream. Yes, just give me a moment, please. I'll just.
And while we're doing that, two letters that Sarah has sent to us on page 76, 77, 78.
I thought if it was okay, Madam Chair, I would put my business association chair hat on first. And cover Easter egg hunt and Christmas parade. It's the first. Delicious.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yep, all good, thank you.
All good. Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Madam Chair, so the Hanmer Springs Business Association, I became chair of in December after Ross Carter stepped away after a number of years of service to focus on his businesses, and we wish Ross all the very best. So off the back of that, there's two things I want to talk to you about today. We might jump to the Christmas parade and then jump back to the Easter egg hunt. So last year's Christmas parade, there was a change of date. It traditionally had been on a Friday and it was run on a Sunday this year, based off feedback by members of the business association that they felt that a number of the locals and community couldn't attend on that Friday night because of work commitments, motels, etc. were busy checking guests in, and they thought that better attendance would be achieved on a Sunday. There was also significant challenges for the volunteers from the business association to deliver last year's event because historically my predecessor Graham Abbott had championed it, and we were a bit tight on volunteer resource. But the event went ahead. We made it bigger by using both blocks of the avenue, and we had reasonable numbers, but there was some community feedback around the change of date that was reasonably strong, and many of you would have been aware of that. Post that community feedback, we went out with two surveys, one to the business association members and a generic survey to the community. The business association feedback was that they liked having the event on the Sunday, and it was a 50-50 split between Friday and Saturday. And that was primarily driven by different things, so different businesses. Interestingly, the accommodation providers who said that they didn't want it on the Friday night and wanted it on the Sunday turned around and said it worked terribly for us because we're too busy cleaning rooms at that time. But don't do it on a Friday because we're too busy checking people in, and so what about a Saturday? Either which way, we've taken on a number of points of feedback there. The community survey, we had again a split of about 40% that would like it on a Sunday, 40% that would like it on a Friday, and 20% that had all sorts of suggestions of different days of the week and times. Where the business association got to when they discussed it was that the preference would be to go back to Friday because they see the event as something that is for the community and people who live here rather than visitors. However, the catch is that the business association are very focused on rebuilding as a business association. So one of the things that they have been looking to do is how do we have these community events run by different parts of the community rather than the business association, who need to get back to supporting businesses and deliver a strong program of business workshops and different things this year. So where that has got to is there is a group that I chair on behalf of the pools that run the Alpine Winter Festival, and that is a representative of a number of the businesses, but different people who have effectively said that this year they will take on running the Easter egg hunt and the Christmas parade. So after engaging with that group, we have landed on the best date for this year's event is Friday, the 11th of December, 2026. And that will be confirmed at the Business Association's next committee meeting. So that is where we've landed on the Christmas parade. Any other questions on the Christmas parade?
No, I think that's good. I'm one of those who supports the idea of it going back to Friday.
No.
Definitely works better for that. So,
And look, I think
well done.
half of the Business Association would like to thank the community board for the continued 50-50 funding split for that event. So, yes.
And we're happy to do that.
Thank you. So the next one is the Easter egg hunt. So the Business Association has sent the community board a letter looking for support with funding towards that event to the value of $1,000. In the past, we have leveraged heavily into the business community to fund that event, and the total cost is about $3,000. We're asking this year for $1,000 support from the community board. That is primarily driven because we are very conscious in talking to some of our members and others that have provided funding that January this year was a particularly challenging trading period, and the cash a number of our businesses would normally have built up now to go into the quieter winter months, and those cash reserves are not there or as strong as they have been. So the support available for a number of community initiatives from the business sector this year is going to be not as strong. And we would like to see this and a number of other events still continue, which is why we have proposed the community board support that event to the tune of $1,000. I would also like to just flag on that one, in the past it has been a Sunday afternoon. We have proposed that we move that this year to Friday the 3rd of April. Why? Sunday afternoon, the village is already busy. From a business perspective, we need to encourage more people and more visitors into the village earlier in the weekend. So we're hoping by doing it on Friday, we can encourage that. It will also pick up some of the local families who have not yet left for school holiday activities and other things to also be involved, and helps to support the desire to encourage more nights of accommodation for those that are visiting us for overnights. To be earlier, because we are seeing a trend with long weekends where instead of for the likes of Waitangi people coming in on Thursday and leaving on Sunday, they're leaving it until Friday of that weekend and only doing the 2 nights. And again, it's that consumer choice around value for money and available cash to invest in visiting. So by adding the event to Friday, we hope we can attract more people to the village earlier.
Good idea. Any thoughts, any comments?
Love the graphics.
Yeah.
Have the community board contributed in the past, or will this be a first? Is there a precedent?
I don't know that there's a precedent, but we had talked about somewhere along the lines, whether it's back in any of our minutes, but I know it's somewhere we have discussed that and agreed tacitly that we would contribute that $1,000. So, but I mean, this is going to come up later on in the meeting, so we'll verify everything there.
Yeah, good idea.
So that'll be Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Yeah.
Good day.
Okay. Next.
Then the second letter that I've sent you is putting my Fool's hat back on for the Alpine Winter Festival. So the Alpine Winter Festival last year attracted 30,000 guests, which was 10,000 up on the previous year, and we're hoping to continue to grow that. One of the hallmark activities last year to grow that festival was the introduction of ice skating, which we're planning to do again for this year. The community board kindly reached out and offered to provide us some supported funding last year to help make ice skating happen, and we were able to secure corporate funding that meant that we didn't require that, so we respectfully said we're good. However, this year we have a few challenges, and again, that business community funding is not coming through as strong as I would like, so there is a request for a $7,000 contribution for the community board towards the ice skating. Ice skating for this year will not be in the building owned by the O'Brien construction business that it was last year. This year, we need to move out of that building because it will be in construction. So rather than going back to the previously proposed model of closing Emery Ave or another street to do that, we have managed to reach agreement with Edit Hotel to use the tennis court located of the car park and behind Spice Village and here on the run in that space, which means that we can build and construct the rink on the tennis court with the necessary marquee and additional infrastructure. We believe that's a really viable and good location because we're close to the amenities of Edit Hotel. There is a car parking, and it's key for us to keep the ice skating operating within the Central Village area and to drive people who are coming to the ice skating into the wider businesses and to explore the village. The ice skating comes with significant costs, and we, as the pools business, take the risk on those costs. We're chasing about 3,500, almost 4,000 guests to make sure that we cover those costs to make it viable, but it is a nearly $70,000 commitment to deliver the ice skating across those 2 weeks that we offset by a combination of revenue from users as well as sponsorship. But as I said, the sponsorship this year, at this stage, we have not been able to get anywhere near close to what we were able to achieve last year. That said, off the ice skating last year, we did manage to generate significant media interest, and we got about $240,000 worth of in-kind media through news stories, articles, and promotions of the ice skating rink, and therefore the village through having it, which is why we see it as a particularly important resource within the wider picture of the Alpine Winter Festival.
Yeah, it was certainly well attended attraction and well liked by everybody. There's a lot of enjoyment out of it, so definitely well worth it. So any comments, other board members? Tom?
Yeah, you've got visitors exceeded 10,000, but you had just under 4,000 paying visitors, so you had over 6,000.
Mum and dads didn't escape. They walked.
So are we not need to tell you how to run a business, but if there's 6,000 people turning up, surely there's an opportunity there for coffees and refreshments. You know, there may be any hotel want to do that because obviously it's their premises.
We consciously made the decision last year to not do food and beverage of any scale. We had a Coke fridge in there that sold water and some fizzy drink. But we made the determination of it's more important to be in the village and encourage people to give trade and opportunity to the other local businesses and have an open door policy so people could bring food and drink from existing businesses in than to take the opportunity around the coffee cart or other things. This year, we will continue to have the open door policy, and Edit are supporting that people can bring coffee or takeaway food of any nature from any local business in. But obviously having Edit right there, they will see some upside in coffees and other things from their establishment. But they have also given us the use of the tennis court for free. So there's a bit of a balancing in there. So definitely agree that we could do well out of food and beverage, but I do believe that that's something that we should be encouraging for the existing businesses they're trying to meet.
Agreed. That can be a bone of contention, for sure. Okay, is there any other?
I walked down, Eva and I, we just went and had a look, just poked our nose in and had a look, stayed and watched for a while. It's surprising how many people were there, and I would suspect we weren't the only two there just looking. And we will be talking to other people that we know, and that's what you want. Is it to word of mouth. No, it was well done last year.
Look, we've already had people inquiring as ice skating happening, as if it is they want to come back. So that's a very positive sign.
So what date are we talking?
We'll run from the 3rd of July through until the 17th.
Thank you.
There was a lot of positive comment too.
I know we have to hire the marquee.
Lions Club in the marquee.
You have 30 by 10 metre marquee with snow loading factors. So the Lions one's that big. Yeah.
Huge, yeah, massive. And it was lovely. It sort of triggered other side events as well, like the choir coming and singing there, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I didn't skip.
I can't say. Okay.
I would note that the Madam Mayor did a brilliant job of skating last year. We were very grateful to have her on national TV with her ice skates on.
Sitting on a chair though. Old lady. Sorry. Grandchildren helped.
Righto. Oh, thanks, Sarah. We will be discussing that as we go through our agenda, and that's pretty positive and it's given us a lot of background information that's very useful. Thank you.
The one other comment I will make that wasn't on the list is you will may have seen over the weekend that we have started to quietly push the 110th birthday of Soldiers Block, because the Pools is the booking agent for that, and we're working with the Trust and a number of groups around town to develop a program of activities for King's birthday weekend, which is 2 days before the official opening in 110 years ago. So we will share more with you as that has progressed.
Thank you. Okay.
theory online, so this road name.
Yes, well, it's-
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. We've got Sherry online here for page 22. Road name for road.
And so all, nice to see you, even if it is small, little, tiny digital squares. Madam through the chair, just presenting the road naming report for 12 and 14 Jacks Pass. You'll call it as an 8-lot subdivision for a multi-unit residential development. There was a known road naming report presented on the 15th of December, and the board then returned that and asked for consultation with Rosemary and Ross Carter, Rosemary Ensor, which we've done, and also to take to them the possibility of the road name Bedford Way. The officer recommends the name Bedford Way because this is the one that supports the use of the brand of buses that brought people to and from Hanmer and was used in the Hanmer area. Mr. Carter suggested a name of Carter Way, but unfortunately, because we have Carter in Amberley here, you can't have two names, so we weren't able to use that one. And then the third one is Pine View Way, which presented with the other report previously on the 15th, and that's for the pine trees that were around the housing that were there at the time. And the officer recommends considering Bedford Way for the name of the right of way.
Thank you. And everyone's thoughts?
On board.
Yes, yes.
Makes good sense.
No, okay. Would someone like to move that recommendation? So moved by Lorna, seconded by Anne. I'll put that motion. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. I know
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you. Several people did receive some contact from the property managers there in relation to wanting a recommendation to actually happen as soon as possible because there were they're waiting for titles to be uplifted. So I know they sent that information to me and to others on the board, but that's not an issue, is it?
No, you've made your decision now, so it's no longer standing or running in title.
No. That's good. Just want to make sure that didn't complicate anything. Okay, next one is very Community Arts Council. And there's an officer recommendation there that the Hanmer Springs Community Board support the issuing of a new 3-year licence with a right for renewal for another 3 years to the Arts Council on the same term as the previous licence and with the same licence fee. My thought on that was that everything else has gone up in costs, and I wonder if we shouldn't be looking at increasing the licence fee a smaller amount for each of the next 2 renewals, but otherwise I have no issue with the actual issuing of the licence and what's contained in it so far. Only wonder if we need a discussion about the licence fee. Any thoughts, please? Want me to leave? I might ask Hamish how we go with this. I mean, we're a small group and a very small community, and we're always going to have some overlaps. Lorna has declared an interest, and so won't be taking part in the conversation. So is it that important that she should leave the room?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
The convention is just push the chair back from the table to show that you're not part of the conversation, but
Okay.
What sort of amount are you thinking?
Well, I don't know. Some of the other fees went up by 8-10%, that kind of thing. So not huge.
No.
But so if we went up 10% each renewal,
Over the 3-year period.
yeah,
So 10% for the 3 years and then
a further 10%,
10% if they want to renew.
the
for
second
next 3
renewal.
years. Yeah. I'm happy.
And each of those renewals is a 3-year renewal.
Because they do charge for the sites, don't they?
And I mean, that's a fairly minimal amount.
But it's not all locals, is it?
No.
I'm quite happy to propose that
Okay, so that the Hanmer Springs
with
community
the 10% increase.
supports issuing the new 3-year licence with a right of renewal for 3 years on the same term as previous licence. And taking out that last bit there with an increase in the fee for the first renewal of 10% and a further increase of 10% for the second renewal. That's your.
Yes.
Okay. Second,
Second.
Chris, second. That motion, all in favour? Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Oh, so I did notice that the funding comes from the Amberley amenities rate. I thought that was a great idea, but it's on page 29. Okay. Next item up for discussion is we had asked for some feedback on how the management program is going for Conical Hill. So we have that feedback there, page 31. So possibly I might ask you, Chris, to have your thoughts on that first up.
I think if we go through each page and see if anyone put a question,
Okay,
what do you reckon?
yep, you want to do that. So page 31, 32. Page 33, 34.
If you look at 33, which is that's a new entrance way to it. I'm going to request down the line more, just probably another 30 Kānuka to just to take up, put more Kānuka when you walk up rather than having a look at the weeds. I mean, I completely understand how much money some of this stuff costs, but it is a light as we're coming down the street, the amount of people walking up there. That costs probably about $10 each.
So that's $300.
Probably 300 or 400, yeah.
So another $300 for
10 Kānuka, what does that, about 10, 20 Kānuka? 30, about 30. You can see where you walk up there on the new piece, where the rocks are between there and the existing Kānuka. You need to fill that in, otherwise it'll just fill with weeds. I think it'll be a really good job.
okay. Page 34. And then page 35 on, there's a copy of our 10-year management plan included in this. So I'll just run through that if there's any questions anyone's got in relation to what's happening there. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. With plan outline 49, 50. $51, $52. So this is the reassessment report. Done 20th April 2025. 53, 54. Six. 7, 58. Chris, was there any issue on that page 58 that's showing that concrete drain? Is that working how it should be?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay,
I don't go to that spot there.
right. Page 59. Page 60. That sixth item instead of a square should be 6, I assume. Page 61, 62. 63. 64, 65. So it's just showing which trees they are pinpointed as needing work done or to be removed. 66, 67. That completes.
The only thing I'd probably bring up is it was mentioned in the interactive signs and notice for people to read what's happening there. The problem with these are they are hugely expensive, and I can understand that. But some of it, I mean, you could look at putting things at the top, the history of it, the Maori history of it, and little things, something like that. Even if we just had one well drafted one at the top to look at, I think probably down the line we probably need to look at it. I don't think you need them everywhere saying what sort of tree this is and turning left here off, but I think something at the top would be quite nice.
Like a nice,
Yes, something to
that you can cut as you're looking at the view, yeah.
A little bit of the history, this is history there. You know, the one at Balmoral got almost some museum items in there and old logs in there, the old observation logs, firewalls were in there, and that's really quite nice to get in there and see that, isn't it? You know, it's quite emotive to actually sort of see what someone was seeing 50 years ago, 30 years ago.
Okay, so any other comment on that one? So if we move that the information be received, but also comment that we would like them to consider another $300 or so for 10 kanika at the summit. And sorry,
about $10 each.
I got that wrong. It was $10 each, wasn't it? So 30 at $10 each. Review and a review of the need for the signage, just something more simple, explaining the history at the top area where the lookout is.
And just for information, as Jamie McFadden has taken Carnegie Seed from up there, so we are putting what's come from there back in.
Oh, cool.
So that's handy. Yeah.
Okay, so you were moving that, were you?
Some of them.
Okay, second, Lorna, that motion, all in favour, so aye. Just while we're looking at that one though, road trip. No, it's going to come up in urgent business, it's all right.
That's right. Go down and explain.
So can you look at?
Okay, financial report.
Jason on.
Jason. So that's page 68 to 73.
Radio, thanks. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
We've got that beauty. Radio, so yeah, attached is the financial report to the end of December. Now, it starts on page 69. We've got the amenities rates for the first part of page 69. We know we started the financial year with a debt in the amenities of 190 973,000. The rates we've received to date is 263,000, and other funding, another 18,000, so 281,000 of revenue for the first 6 months, and then total expenditure incurred for the 6 months was 237,000. So the balance at the end of December was sitting on just on 930,000 in debt. The key variances that we've experienced through the first 6 months has been the salary and wages. We've got total budget for all the amenities accounts of 153,000, and you would expect that the 6 months worth would be about 76,000. To date, we've only recorded 35,000, so there's a significant variance there. We also had another 20,000 set aside for a regulatory contractor, and none of that has been incurred so far, or none has been recorded so far this year. And then we've got a couple of key projects that we have in the budget. We've got the community hub, which we allowed a $60,000 budget, which was carried forward from a previous year. And if we did that, half of that work up to the end of December would have incurred 30,000, but we've incurred nothing so far. And likewise with the re-roof of the hall, and as another capital project, we've got a budget of almost 25,000. Only a small amount was spent for the first 6 months, but there is a commitment that work will carry forward, I believe, next month or in January or February, which will utilise that whole budget. Just seeing if there's any specific queries. The track network group there.
Before you move on from amenities, just going back to that regulatory contract, what was that for? Do you know?
I think we had a higher level of there has been a budget that's been sitting in there for a little while from the long-term plan. Primarily, it was I think the expectation around parking, and I think that's the genesis of it. The parking wardens around Hanmer Springs now, whether that is sitting in a different cost centre, a corporate, compliance cost centre, or part of it should be coded to the Hanmer Springs amenities, I'll need to go and check on that to see where the budget should sit. I think
if you would check that one for us, please.
Yeah. If there is any revenue from parking fines and the likes, I believe they're going back to the compliance cost, the cost of compliance. So, one way or the other, but certainly if there is a significant, I'm not sure whether the parking fines would recover all those costs anyway, but let me go and do some checking on that and see where it should sit.
Because Hanmer, Jason, is the only one that has infringements, isn't it, in the council?
Yeah, I believe so. But everybody else is nodding, so I'll just nod in agreement as well.
While we're on that subject, something probably could have been up when Sarah was here, but didn't. The pools are asking for us to put parking meters in just on that west side of Amelia Avenue outside the pools. Her contention for that is that people come there early in the morning. They're going to be at the pools all day. They bring in their eskies and picnic bags and the like, and they spend all day there and so never move. And then the people who are coming to the pools for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, there's no coming and going, and they have to park further away. And also the lack of utilisation of that triangle car park. I know last year I watched it quite carefully, and it was reasonably well used, but this year it wasn't.
Not being at all.
No.
And it's not really very well signposted, to be honest. No fairness there.
So, I don't know, where shall we bring that up? Can we just park that for now?
But that would have to be a formal proposal.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm not going to do it on the fly. I just wanted to mention it. But if we can put it perhaps on the action sheet to discuss for next time.
Can I just ask about the hall, the roof? Is that with the capital project, is it a repaint or is it a full replacement?
That's going to come up again in our action sheet as well, because that wasn't that clear either, and we have asked that question. So we were supposedly going to get some information back on that.
Okay.
We haven't had anything yet, so it'll come up. Anything else on that amenities, Ray? Oh, okay, sorry, carry on, Jason.
Okay, the bottom of that page is just the track network group. So the balance of that sits at 58,000. Now there is a slight error. You can see on page 73, I've also provided a fuller breakdown of the movements, and we're out by the internal interest component there. I was rapidly trying to get this report done before I went on leave, so a few errors have crept in, so my apologies for that. But the balance is 58,157 at the end of December 25.
Okay.
Okay, over the page, on page 70, is the top of the page is we've got the weather contingency fund there, and there could be the balance of that account is sitting on 43,000. I know there had been some storm damage after Labour weekend, which this particular fund is specifically set aside to deal with. So yeah, part of that may actually be utilised, but that will come through as a separate report. Next one down is the roadside construction account, and started the period with a debt of 131,000, and we're collecting about $40,000 worth of rates every year, and the only expense that's gone out so far is just the interest cost on that debt. We do have in the capital project some further street lighting, which is monies that have been carried over from previous years, as well as an amount specifically set aside for this year. Then we've got the two medical centre accounts. So we've got the medical centre itself, and it's sitting on a debt of 167,000 at the end of December. But bearing in mind, significant amount of the costs are incurred right at the start of the year, particularly in insurance and rates. And similarly with the doctor's house, it's sitting on a debt of 134,000. And again, the rates and the insurance component were incurred at the start of the year. So, you know, a bigger portion of the, I do see that rental, there is no rental attached to that. So I just need to dig down further to see where the rental has been coded to. We are still grappling with our new computer system, so there's still the odd thing that's creeping through that we're just trying to get a handle on. Got the Township Development Contribution Fund, and for once, after many years of this being in, you know, a large amount of debt. We've got some significant development contributions that have come through in the first 6 months of the year, and that just matches the level of development that's finally come to fruition. So you see the development contributions for the township and also the domain both significantly up on what we had allowed for in the budget. Yep. Okay, in the bottom of page 70 is the walkway fund, and it's just got a balance of 13,000 sitting in that. I think the intention was to originally to just transfer that to the amenities account, but I think there was a desire to try and keep it separate. So it's just been left separate for the time being. And then page 71, we've got the Ferry Bridge Preservation Fund, which has got a balance of, and the bungee jump royalties have been received. They were washed up when Thrill Seekers sold the business. So there was 2,500 received for the period of time. And 1,700 that's gone into the tourism fund. So the balance of each of those accounts is sitting on 112 and 43,000 respectively. As I mentioned before, the development contribution fund for the domain is certainly ahead of the budget, and that's sitting on a balance of 263,000. And then we've got a couple of special funds, the Pavilion Fund sitting on 27,000, and the Contestable Fund sitting on 81,000. And the full breakdown of the contestable funds on page 72. And then the final balance there is the Staff House Fund, which is sitting on after the key works that were done in the previous financial year. There's still a balance of 31,000 sitting in that account. And I do note your query right at the start of the meeting about the reserves that fund can be utilised for. And I was frantically trying to find the agreement with DOT that specified what those combined reserves were to see how we can apply the remaining funds there. But I couldn't find it straight up. I know we've had it before, and I've distributed it to the community board in the past, but I just can't find it right at my fingertips.
Okay. Right, any questions on any of that? There is something that, and it's not quite related to the accounts, but well, not what we've just gone over, but Tom wanted to raise something. Do you want to talk about that now, or
Which one?
you asked about the where is it? You asked about the funding. Oh, the interest, the offset of interest.
Yeah, Jason, you're looking into offsetting the interest. You need a new treasury policy, is that right? If we even offset our assets against our debt.
Yeah, well, what we do need to do to allow for any adjustment to the way we calculate the internal interest, it's not so much the treasury policy, it's our internal financing policy, and just getting that clarified. And these, as I said, there's a couple of issues that sort of flow into that want to try and get rounded up in one go. And we can retrospectively apply any adjustment to the to the internal interest. So, and that will be part of the recommendation to council as well. So, it is a piece of work that's in train. It's just, it hasn't quite, reached the top of my priority list right now. And I've sort of only been back in the office for a couple of weeks before I went back on leave. So yeah, today's my first day back, so trying to get on top of all manner of things. So, but it is a piece of work that I'm still working on, and will bring to council when at the appropriate time. Thanks, Jason. And if it is going to be retrospectively activated, then take your time. It's great. Okay, don't say that. It won't get there in a hurry.
Okay. So that was page, for the board members, that was page 8990, Tom, and it was under our correspondence that Tom was asking about the offset of interest against like what we have in assets against our debt. Okay, any other questions for Jason? All right, if somebody would like to move that report be received. So moved by Tom, I'll second. Put that motion, all in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Okay, so next one is discussion items raised by the board. So page 74.
I just Sally Cracknell and I have been working for some considerable time on getting the new bins in, and excuse me. So the old tiny bins have been replaced with the big new rectangular square bins, and very nicely decorated with photographs provided by Rosemary and so on. And I think that the new bins are absolutely working fantastically, and considering that my firm over the Christmas period normally is dominated, particularly over Christmas and New Year, is absolutely dominated with rules and messages about, number one, rubbish, number two, the water supply. And I can honestly say this has been, in my 3 years of being on the community board and on the council, the quietest ever. And of course, not a single complaint about the water, or no, there has been one complaint, but that would, and not a single complaint over the bin. So I think that the absence of complaints and considerable comments, I think we've done a really, really good job there. Sally has done a fantastic job in getting those bins, and Marty Grounds and Rosemary and so getting the photographs, and I think there's something to be really proud of.
Oh, they look really good, really nice.
And touch wood, in over 2 months, not one photograph yet has been damaged or vandalized that I've seen. It is,
Don't think so.
well, I think they're appreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
That's always the way though, isn't it? You make something look nice and like it's cared for, and people don't trash it the same.
Interesting.
yeah,
They're interesting things.
people have suggested a little commentary about the photograph and where it is. And I think that with hindsight, that in the future we will possibly try to do that, but not all of those photographs warrant or actually have any commentary.
Mm.
You know?
There are some bins that still need cleaning. So some of the old ones are really do.
I have all the cleaning materials to clean our bins with specialist degreaser provided by Sally, that's sitting in my garage if anyone would like to borrow it. But I do also have a Rotary working bee coming up in March. Nothing to do with the community board, but working in the village, Rotary members, and I would put that on the list of jobs if you would like to.
Absolutely. Yep. Excellent idea.
Appreciate it.
Military works on bins. People don't want to hang around bins eating.
Yeah, but some of those photographs, you know, the one, I digress slightly, but there's one of an aeroplane angle, you know, hitting the ground on an angle, but it looks fascinating. I'm thinking, what the hell happened there? You know, she's obviously been involved in some sort of collision accident.
And who's the gentleman standing up there in the building?
So where, when, how did it happen? I'd love to know that myself. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, and the other one was trading over Christmas.
Yeah, I think that just from what I hear and from all the businesses that I've been in touch with and the Business Association, I think that most of our businesses have found it a very, very challenging January. Partly because, probably mainly because of the fact weather wasn't unusual. And the summer is very much wetter than normal, and I think that just being mindful of the fact that many of our business colleagues are doing it tough. And I think that if we have events or council events or community board events, then we try to support those local businesses is really positive and to be seen to be supporting those. I think it's a really good idea.
Yep, that's certainly the case. It was pretty ordinary, and the weather wasn't just the weather. I think there's still a little bit of hesitancy out there just about the economics as well. But the weather certainly hasn't helped. Okay. That information was discussed. So moving on to page 75. Sarah talked about the first two here, the Easter egg hunt and the Alpine Winter Festival. So there were three things here that were mentioned. So $1,000 of community board funding for the Easter egg hunt. A continuing agreement about the 50-50 funding for the Santa parade, and she did mention something about the 110 years, the Soldiers Block, but she would come back and keep us updated on that. So I'm not sure, have we actually confirmed as a board $1,000? Tom, can you remember? Because I can't.
I'm fairly certain we haven't. We've had discussions, but I think we've never had a full resolution.
Okay.
I'd quite happy if you want me to make a resolution on that basis. So I will.
Is this for the Easter hunt?
This is the $1,000.
$1,000 to Business Association towards the Easter egg hunt.
Okay. So you're moving that?
Madam Chair, do you want to specify which account?
Well, I was looking at the tourism fund. There's 40-odd thousand there, and it is clearly directed or focused on bringing people into the village. I know there's locals as well, but it really, the real benefit is to bring people in from outside. So I propose that we could take it from the tourism fund.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Chris, put that motion all in favour? Against, carried. Now the 50-50 funding for the Santa parade, that's ongoing. We've already done that, or should we just confirm that at this stage? Let's confirm it.
Yeah, I think that last year was about 1,500.
Well, it will vary because we're...
we vary, but if we say 50%, they suddenly came with a bill of 20,000. So,
do you want to cap it?
I think
50% up to a...
Or we'll consider it on its merits when the proposal is made. We just want to do 50% of the cap.
I think it makes it clear. They know what's coming.
It's 1,500 at the moment, and it was increases on that, so 2,500. 50% to a maximum of 2,500.
Okay, you're proposing that?
Similar as last year, unless
Well, similar level to last year,
Yeah,
50% similar level to last year.
So it's you're proposing that. Second? Yep. Okay. Chris, seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried.
Tourist fund again?
Tourist fund, yep.
Yeah. Might as well go for that, really.
Right.
$7,000 for the Winter Festival. Again, out of the tourism fund. The ice skating rink, I think it's tremendous facility. I really do think that it's a memory that people will take with.
Yeah, I think it worked really well.
I think also through the Jeanette, that the Winter Festival is something we should be really encouraging to grow, because it's an amazing opportunity. This is a fantastic location for a Winter Festival.
It is.
And, you know, it feels like it needs that momentum.
In the middle of the year when you could.
Yeah, I know, and the potential, you know, to bring people here, where else there aren't many other places that do a winter festival. And we're an alpine resort, you know.
It's a perfect place.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're proposing that we support their request for funding of 7,000. This is a one-off request at this point.
Yeah, but I suppose we can include in that we would look favourably upon it. Basis. No?
We'll just a one-off request.
Yeah.
Date.
I know, but I want to say bring it back next year as well, you know, just keep it going. And if we actually signalled an ongoing commitment to it, then that, you know, then there wouldn't be any doubt about the future. It would just be the practicalities.
You were letting everybody else off the hook.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you just say you look forward to an evaluation for a continued investment, you know, so that.
So Tom's moved that. Second.
I can second it.
And that motion, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Great. Okay, page 79, toilets. Oh gosh, there was a Facebook, this came about because there was Facebook comments, because our toilets were closed quite often during the break. And so I sent some information. I asked Josie how this was going, what was happening. Her feedback is on page 79 there, where she comes back. She says, "Morning, Alice. I've discussed the following with the cleaning contractor. And these were all the issues that they had with the toilets over Christmas." It was pretty horrible.
Well, crazy.
I'm not sure what we can do about it. I mean, they're cleaning it regularly during that time. But I guess the other thing is, the only thing we can do is feed back to the community exactly what has been happening so that they understand what the difficulty is. It's a little bit like the rubbish, you know, people putting dirty nappies in the recycling.
Oh. The block is deliberate.
And yeah.
It's done to annoy people.
Yeah. So that was the feedback. So I just wanted everyone to know that.
I think they're doing a really good job. You know, they're you know, over a public holiday period on actually public holidays as well. They're still attending to them.
Yeah,
they're trying their best, and unfortunately, the misuse of the toilets is pushing our staff to the limits. But you know, just these are why it was. You know, I think, as you say, if you publicise that, these are the reasons why it was closed. Our staff were working as hard as they could over the public holiday to attend to it. And we'll continue to do so.
The one comment that came out of it that I thought was good that we could do something about is when one block of toilets is closed, put a sign there saying where the other block of toilets is. And I think Josie suggested that here. because a lot of people who are visitors don't know. If that's closed, they think, oh my God, there's nothing else. And they go in the bushes behind. They did, apparently.
Good idea. This is really not that big distance.
Yeah. So, okay. That one. One is the Brook Dawson Park seat plaque. Did you want to talk about that, Tom?
Yeah, so we've approved the positioning of the seat in Brook Dawson and approved the actual siting of the seat for Brook Dawson. These are the benches that are made by the men's shed, and fitted with a beautiful plaque. And Laurie and Pauline Bennett are quite happy to pay for the seat. It would like a decent commemorative plaque on there to give a bit more than just in memory of Brook Dawson. They'd like to give a little bit of the history of Brook Dawson and why he's so important, why the park, why the reserve was named after him. And feels that that should be in some sort of brass or bronze plaque, probably fixed to the seat. It makes it easier. And I think the suggestion is not hugely expensive. And they would like help. They're quite happy to provide the seat and probably $200 or $300 for a decent quality plaque, giving him the credit there is due. As I say, from a disclosure point of view, Pauline has sent this letter via me because she knows that I'm on the community board of the council, and Pauline was a good friend and was a member of a club that we are both members of the same club. But I don't think that disqualifies me from, but I'll leave that in other people's hands. It disqualifies me from presenting and voting in this. But do you think there is any doubt or debate? I would quite happily stand back.
Well, I think the same applies what I said before. We're a small group and a very small community, and everyone knows everyone. It's a little bit hard to where you draw the line. I don't know that there needs to be one space, but Hamish is here to help us.
So I just comment, number one, Madam Chair, that conflicts of interest are at an individual member's discretion, not a discretion on the board. So it's up to you, Tom. My advice in this situation to you would be that this person has approached you as a member of the community board, as a representative, and so I don't think there's any conflict. And even though you know them, I don't think there's any conflict any greater than anybody else would have. So.
No, and it's not for the benefit of a group or an individual. This is actually for the benefit of the community.
So, Madam Chair, one of the other tests is whether the member feels they can make a decision with an open mind. So sometimes it's useful for the member to make that quite clear as well, that they feel they can approach it with that open mind.
Thank you. I think I do have an open mind, but it is also slightly closed in the fact that I think I actually see the benefits. So yeah,
What are we wanting out of this then?
I think basically through reading through the lines, they would like a contribution towards it, and if we could perhaps give a contribution of say $300 maximum towards a suitably made plaque in bronze or copper.
Should we get it all priced up first? Because you know how many words you're going to put on it.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well,
It won't be able to be too big.
No.
So we'll ask them to come back with some idea of the cost of this.
Cost. The exact thing.
Yeah.
And
does that actually need a motion or just that's just something we're going to do on our action sheet.
You could perhaps support it up to a certain figure and then it could come back if it's above that.
I think, Graham, I think the intent here is to go back with some more information before the money's, so I think just an action sheet. No, to say that probably presumably you, Tom, will go back to them, see with the approach. And just get some clarification about the money and the wording.
Yeah, and how much they want. How much they want the work and the materials to be used.
How much it's going to cost?
Okay.
All these seats that are being put around the village from the men's shed, do they, everyone needs to have permission, or are they men's shed just putting them around?
No,
It was approved that I had the authority to
do that. Okay.
to do that. Carry on working with them. Yesterday.
so I could pass this one on to you while we're on the subject of men's shed seats. I received an email from Sherry Weinberg. She said, I was thinking of donating a wooden bench seat up at the Hanmer Springs Cemetery Gateway on the left-hand side. Also with a plaque in memory of Lou Weinberg, who was a long-time logging contractor and local in Hanmer Springs and Hiranui. If the cemetery is not ideal, somewhere in the village centre would be nice too. So we need to chat with her about, she likewise wanted to put some kind of nice plaque on that.
But she's offering to donate it. And gave me clarification because the ownership of this cemetery doesn't rest.
No, it's district.
It's district reserve. I can't see that the district reserve would have any problem with that, but I would need that clarification. There are some seats up there already in the cemetery area, but not at the front. I had a look at the front where she was suggesting, and it's the actual entrance, and it's got the signage there, Hanmer Springs Cemetery, and if you placed a seat there, it might obscure that sign. Yeah, you wouldn't mind.
So
The sign would say that.
So we need.
There ain't parking, a lot of parking.
So what can I do with that, please, Tom? Can I pass that to you? Okay.
I will get his permission.
Okay, next one. Okay, this says health and safety issue, 12A Conical Hill Road. I received an email from Gordon at Harcourts, who looks after the shops there along the front where Harcourts is, right next to the supermarket. And he was concerned about the health and safety issue because those car parks, the front end car parks, people were coming into them, and within the last short time, at least 2 cars had jumped up the footpath. And I think one of them even touched the building, or whether it was the supports of the veranda, which are actually right on the edge of the curb there. So he wanted something done with it, and I pointed out to him and to Dan that those car parks were partially on private land, not fully on council land. So Dan said, well, at that stage, I just said to Gordon, look, I have passed your information on to the council and they will deal with it. And then Gordon came back to me and said, oh, but I've already spoken to someone at the council and they said they had to talk to you. I had to talk to you. So I said, well, it's a bit confusing. So I got hold of Dan again and said about this, and we talked about the cadastral boundaries, the fact that it was partly on private land. And he said, well, they are going to need to come through council because it's going to have some effect, like council has got certain policies about parking and how we do it and where. And then Dan came back to me and he spoke about bump stops. So, and you'll see that they have been put in place there. I had said to Dan before he put the bump stops in, he said he had them, and I said, there's something that causes a lot of accidents. I mean, I broke my ankle on one only last year. And when I was at the hospital and filling out the ACC, they said to me then that there are so many accidents due to these bump stops. And I know that the pools have had some serious accidents there outside the front where they've got 4 bump stops across where there's no curbing, so they've got bump stops. So that's recorded in their health and safety as well. So anyway, in the meantime, the bump stops are there because it is also a big risk not having anything. So I just thought we should be aware of that and aware of if there is any issues coming up, hear of anything, we should be onto it. So
So just assuming those bump stops are on private land though, Alison?
they are on private land, but put there by the council. And it was agreed. So what Dan came up with, he said, I assume that those are in a private car park where the rules are slightly different. You may have seen the bump stops are installed. These can be a temporary measure if need be, as the costs were minimal. Roading team did discuss this with Gordon and he agreed with this as an effective measure. It's worth noting, I'm unsure of the reason for the person crashing into the building, but we experienced many instances of poor judgment or driver error. And unless there is a pattern or a likely repeat event, we need to carefully consider whether we need to implement mitigation measures. Thanks. So that's where that ended.
So the mitigation would be that they put up in poles, you know, the metal poles.
Yeah, they would.
That's not actually ours, but it would theoretically have to go through the roading and things like that to get approval, but it's not on our land.
Well, that's kind of what that is, even though it's not on, it's partly on our land. Each of those car parks, so that, like that's the curb. And each of the cadastral boundary runs right through the middle of those car parks. Oh yeah, that's it. That's much better drawing.
To scale.
And one's the paraplegic one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I haven't resource consent, but I assume when that building was built that they applied to have the car parks done like that. So
that was my assumption too.
It's something they probably wanted, and now they're saying, "Oh, I'll do something about it."
Yeah.
I think we've taken the steps. That are mitigating the situation. It's their property, it's their buildings. We've done our bit. I think just monitor it and you say.
Yeah. My concern was that we have put, or the council had put the bump stops there for them. And I personally think that they should have paid for bollards themselves. I don't think we should have bump stops. They're fine if they're up against a fence or a building and people aren't stepping over them. Fendleton Mall, where they've got the new old supermarket, people are tripping over them all the time there too. They're horrible things. So I just put it out there and keep an eye on it and see what happens.
I look at the fact that we've discussed it in bollards, it's become a sort of an issue if something does go wrong. Because I have been to one of those where a car shot forward and killed a woman against the post office.
Sorry, where?
Killed a woman against the post office with a car, and that was in the mall with nothing. Now, it probably won't happen, but we have talked about it, haven't we? So
wasn't in the instance that he's speaking about that the person actually accelerated rather than reversed, and they actually broke the window of the Harcourts.
Two instances where that happened.
That's poor driving.
It is true.
It is very, very poor driving, but do we need to mitigate it somehow? It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you put in properly engineered bollards so they can stop a vehicle,
yeah,
they're going to be expensive.
Yeah, I know.
But I think that's up to them.
Not to else.
Yeah. So we go to them.
And it just concerns me that we've put bump stops there. Anyway, I'll just if there's nothing more we can do about it, I just wanted to put the information out there. And if there is anything, any comeback, any discussion that can come back from Dan about how we might rectify it or improve it, I'd like to know.
Do you have to go back to him?
No, it's, as far as Dan's concerned, it's done.
It's done, okay.
If there's much liability, why are they using them?
That's my question.
I mean, anyway.
Because it's a very, very cheap and effective way of, for the majority of drivers, it does work fine.
They're a good idea if they're up against, like I say, a fence or a building to stop people going forward. But if you're going to put a curb there and then a bump stop, and people are stepping over those bump stops all the time, then that's how these accidents are happening.
And it's a narrow space between the bump stop and actually the curb, and that people step into, that's where there's trouble.
So any help on that, Hamish? Any thoughts?
We could take the bump stops out again. And say it's your problem.
Or could you say we've put them in, the rest of it's your problem?
Given the discussion that we've had, do you think that we should be talking to them further about something else? Looking for an alternative?
As Dan said, they could be considered a temporary measure until the landowner comes up with something permanent. And you can go back to the landowner on that basis and say, council's put these in there as a temporary measure. It's really up to you to come up with something more permanent. It's your land.
So can we ask the council officers to do that?
Yep.
My fear would be that any real protection for those shops and for that footpath is going to reduce the size of the parking space and therefore reduce the number of parks that we have there. So I think we should be mindful of that they are very well used, those half dozen spaces. And the disabled space is particularly helpful for people who need quick access to the Foursquare and to the post office. So I'd be reluctant to see any of those parking spaces lost. So there is a sort of cost benefit analysis needs to be done on as the benefits of those parking spaces versus the loss of them.
But wouldn't they be on where the footpath
It's
is,
not-
where your posts are? So you wouldn't actually be in the car park.
It's not really a cost benefit, it's health and safety as opposed to keeping those. That's what concerns me.
But we wouldn't want to see the loss of 6 parking spaces.
No, I'm sure they can come up with a way of doing that without losing the parking spaces.
Yeah.
Type that.
We're talking about different types of risk though, aren't we? We're talking about the risk of the poor driver who comes in and needs to rely on the bump so he doesn't go up on the footpath and hit the Harcourt store. Probably what you're talking about, Alice, is become a risk when you're actually walking that area, not when you're parking in your vehicle, but when you're walking, because you trip and you break your ankle, so it's the walking. But once the car's parked, actually there's no risk because you can't see, you know. So we're talking about a whole lot of different things and who's managing what risk. That's how I see this discussion.
I still think a bollard would be better than a
There might be other solutions. So, for example, I understand the veranda posts there, maybe there's something blocking in between the veranda posts.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I'll provide rather than bollards.
Yep. Well, I'm not the expert on what should go there. I just concerned about what is there at the moment and that we should treat it as said as a temporary stop and then ask them to come up with something else or help them come up with some other suggestion.
So why will people be walking in those car park spaces to trip over those bump stops?
You're walking off the footpath.
When the cars
When there's no car.
cars parked there.
But even if the car's there, they can still stick out depending on how the car is parked, and people trip over the corners of them, and they do. I can vouch for it.
Can I just throw something else? Like, are we thinking about a planting plan with the trees outside Paul Square? You know, is there going to be plant boxes? Is this the solution?
No, it's just a long.
I understand that, but could there be, if this is going to be a solution, could there be plant boxes? You know what I mean? Because it's a visual thing that you want to stop.
No, there's not enough space there for plant boxes.
Isn't it? Okay.
As I understand it, those parks are already shorter than a normal car park.
Let's just give it a trial and see how it goes.
Send them a letter. A reply.
6 months trial and if there is a problem, then it is their policy and their they can be the ones who commission a report or.
But we put the bump stops there.
Yeah, I know we've done it because it was quick and cheap and easy
It's a cheap-
solution. But
Okay.
out of goodwill.
Oh, well, so long as it's not going to come back on us.
I've given the option to, or including bollards in between, something in between. Landowners' expense. From the long end up, everything is shop at their window and anyone walking between it. May never happen, but
Okay, Hamish, how is that? How much of a risk is that to us, or is it, as Tom suggested, we could just leave it and see how it goes?
There's mostly two sets of risks. Number one, people driving through the shop and into the shop. Number two, people tripping over the bump stops. Like Alice, I also tripped over a bump stop and wrecked my knee doing so when I was about 12 years old and running in the dark at night. So I have some sympathy.
Thank you.
But generally speaking, they're considered an acceptable measure for warning vehicles to stop. They're not going to stop a vehicle that's determined to charge into the shop window.
No.
Somebody comes up on whatever, that's going to go straight over them as they do the curve. Because I think it's an actual proper curve outside there as well, which is bigger than the bump stop anyway. I would have thought that anybody that's knowingly stepping over the curb would be watching where they put their feet, because they're stepping over a curb. So
I happened to have an armful of something, which was why I didn't see. But
yeah, and I was running in the dark,
familiar.
you know.
So, and you know what, there will be people in that position as well.
It to me does not seem to be a natural place to be crossing the road. So it'll be the drivers of the cars that are most at risk. They've already bumped into the bump stop, so potentially will know that they're there. So I think it's an acceptable level of risk. Someone got into themselves on the bump stop, given that they're there for a purpose to try and stop people injuring people in another way. I mean, the ideal solution is that you don't have those angled car parks there, because I think they present a hazard to other traffic as well when people are backing out. So, you know, there's
Front end car parks.
a
Front end, not angled.
front and they're very square on, in fact, so they're even more dangerous than an angle park as far as exit and entry.
Okay, so everyone's happy. We'll just leave that and see how it gets managed. Or see how we go.
Just imagine the complaints that we could get if we were to close those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Next one was helipad update. Did you want to talk to that one, Tom? Because you did say that you had some further information from Paul on that.
I only that once you'd actually mentioned it, and I just thought I would double check on where this, because it the report back sort of showed the site. and wasn't a huge amount of information in there, so I thought I'd get a little bit more information. So, but just to add to whatever this is, we've got 54,500 has been raised so far. A lot of the lighting, switching gear and windsock gear is ready to come up here. The pricing for the helicopter construction needs to go out to when they get the engineering back. That's going to be approximately 3 weeks. And then there'll be another week for the tender documents. So realistically, they're looking towards starting at the end of March, early April. That's all I can add to that already there, and they have guaranteed that they would fence off the construction work in the event of it not being ready for when banquet takes place.
Okay. So he's going to come up with something by the 20th of February, so we can pass that around. There is an indication, though, having talked to the pilots and about the layout, is that there's probably going to be a lot more ground of the taken up than what was previously thought. So we're going to lose quite a chunk of the domain. So we'll wait and see. I mean, we have to have it, it's important. We're not saying no, but it might have an impact on some of the events that we hold at the domain. So we'll wait and see what comes up. Okay, water storage reservoirs, that was yours, Tom?
Yeah, just that I just wanted this as to be an action plan on an action point or an action item on our plans, just to make sure that, you know, that they're well aware that, you know, the council is well aware and everyone's well aware that we need more water in the future. And, you know, it is in the long-term plan to provide a new reservoir up on Conical Hill somewhere. I just wanted to make sure that that is on our action list, so that if and when, when the water goes over to the new Wisco, we still have it on our radar to make sure that we actually get that at the appropriate time.
Yeah, I noticed in the council stuff they're talking about MOU or there. So it would be good to know that there is going to still be some way of getting feedback between the Wisco and the communities and who, you know, have to live with these water supplies. So I'm hoping that will be covered somehow.
Through unanimity. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we're working at. So the council in its statement of expectations has stressed the community contact and how that works, so that the beneficiaries of these water supplies, you know, have a feedback mechanism. So certainly something that council has an expectation of.
Right. We're
not telling the Wisco how to design that that connection. We're leaving it up to them, and then they can either satisfy the council or not, but meet that requirement. But my suggestion to them would be that they set up very close connections with the communities in order to ensure that the customers of their water services are you know
happy.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily happy, but not unhappy.
Pick up the boss, pick up back.
Yeah, and communicate.
Yeah.
So just in terms of this water storage, that's not the only issue here, though. I mean, we've got so many subdivisions opening up, and I know that Dan has spoken to us about that before and said that none of these subdivisions can be open, like can be approved without already recognising that there is enough water supply there. But we come back to what happens. I know it didn't happen this year because we've had rain, but I think we've had 4, maybe 5 years where we have had water restrictions starting at the beginning of December, going right through some of them to May. And that's pretty tough to work with and has caused a lot of angst within the community. So, I mean, the extra water storage would have to be massive if that was going to cover the extra subdivision that's happening. It's extra water coming into our supply at the moment. We have the Dillon coming into our water supply, but we don't have anything else other than that river.
The two rivers coming in, you have the Dillon and one is feeding the water supply currently.
Joint.
Last year you were on water restrictions because of too much water, which washed out both intakes, which is what caused you to be on water restrictions last summer. So it wasn't a lack of water, it was too much. As you rightly pointed out, Alice, the amount of water storage that you'd have to have in order to create enough storage to last for long periods of time would be massive. And that's not the intention here. The intention of the reservoir further up Conical Hill is to ensure there's appropriate pressure for those residents at the higher points of the hill, and in particular there's appropriate flow for fire purposes. So that's the point. It's not necessarily about creating a greater volume of storage to last through longer periods. I mean, it does provide some additional resilience to the village, but that's not the point of it.
So, but the water engineers at this stage are sure that the water supply that we get from they join together, the Rogerson and the Dillon, but the water supply we're getting from that is going to be adequate for the subdivisions then.
Yes, but like all our river water supplies, when the river gets below a certain level, we're required by consent to put those restrictions on. And restrictions start off with just recommending people not to use water, recommending that they don't wash the cars, etc., etc. They're not particularly onerous at those early stages. It's only when the rivers get below a certain level that there's that enforced lower use of watering, lower use of water.
So out of the 4 or 5 years that we had those continuing water restrictions, I mean, I remember asking about it last year's one and was told that it was because they were going to go below. And I didn't hear anything about there being a washout at all.
It was Boxing Day last year that was.
Oh, I'm not doubting it, but we didn't hear about that. Yeah.
And I mean, it was an ongoing issue. We put diesel powered pumps in the rivers to pump water, go up there and flog the diesel. You know, it's just I guess those are the issues that you deal with when you're dealing with water supplies. But the issue is that we take water from the rivers under consent from PCN. If the rivers get below a certain level, it automatically triggers restrictions. We're not sure.
No.
But
and I understand that you can't go outside the resource consent. But does that not mean we need to look at some other form of supply?
Yeah, we've looked. If you can tell us whereabouts in the house.
I know in the past we've been through that exercise.
We've been through a recent review of all the existing water takes in the basin to say where is a good supply of water, and there doesn't appear to be one. And
what about the Waiau? I mean, at some stage we are going.
The Waiau River have exactly the same restrictions. Once they get below a certain level, they'll stay.
But it may not. It may not have that restriction at the same time as the other one. That's all. I'm just wondering what I guess they're going to have to be thinking about it eventually, because as Hanmer grows, we are going to come across the problem.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Can I just say also, I mean, it's often to the despair of many people because they look at the rivers and say, well, actually, there's still got a good flow, but it's actually because you've met that threshold that you're not allowed to to take anymore, you know, so it causes a lot of frustration
Right.
across the whole district.
Yes.
Because they visually say, still water flowing, but I can't wash my car, or, you know, so it's understanding the process that we're in.
Yeah, I just guess the point is for us, it doesn't restrict the amount of water that we can take from the river. It's simply a requirement that we put restrictions on to try and reduce the amount of water usage. And it sounds a bit odd, but that's the way it works. We are unrestricted beyond our normal consent levels. And it doesn't say because the river's below this level, you can only take this amount of water. We can still continue to take the same amount of water. All we're trying to do, or all the resource consent is trying to do, is modify people's behaviour so that less water is used.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add there, Alice? The council in the form of Annabelle and Helgen are coming up on the first 2 weekends in March to give out information about water harvesting, about people having tanks, additional tanks in their gardens to collect rainwater and perhaps use it. So they're going to come up with some information on the 7th and 14th, I think it is.
So that's going to be publicised somewhere?
Yeah, they will be putting it out publicly, and they're coming to our markets. And yeah, on Saturday the 7th and 14th of March, they'll be at the markets, and then there'll be 2 public workshops on the 3 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. in the library about water harvesting and what it means and what it, how we can benefit. And Graham and Sheridan Berg, who did actually make representations on this point to the council's long-term plan some time ago, are going to come along as local champions for that event as well. So we've got people who are interested, we've got the council providing that information, and there is the opportunity there for people to do a little bit of their own conservation of water or storage of water down the track.
That's great. Good publicity on it, that would be good. Okay, the last one there is Hanmer Springs Board Finances. So we already discussed that with Jason. Did you want to add anything there, Tom?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay, action sheet, page 91.
Have a break.
Would you like a break? Let's have a break.
Hold on, one second. You do the.
I'll bring something up.
All good to go. Action sheet, page 91. Number 1, I'll just go through 1, 2, 3, and if there's anything anyone wants to add to it, or if I want to add to it, I'll let you know.
I think Nathan's got a couple of roughly as we go through as well.
Thing there. It was around, not that one, first. Street lighting. It was on. I heard back from the council officer, and they have advised that By short and list, there are no future plans for streetlight installations. She's premised that she's aware of. However, she is welcome to suggestions. Might like to prioritise anything for future installations, and they'll be happy to include that in their plans and budget when that comes up again. That's something to think about.
Okay, has anyone got any thoughts? Noticed anything in particular that needs lighting?
There's one missing sort of a shallow question.
Yes,
You walk along there and it's dog. You sort of notice
Yeah, you don't.
Maybe,
shallow.
Thanks.
Yeah.
anyone want to sort of have a walk around, would it have to be a drive around at night, really? Anyone want to do that, or we'll just? We haven't had any particular requests from people, which is what's happened normally in the past.
Is it worth putting something out to give them?
Yeah.
So do you have any street lighting issues in Hanmer Springs?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because it's going to be late.
Yeah,
So yeah, we can put it down to 2. Problem with that, I mean, I'm walking by there.
Okay. Answer to that. So if you could just put that as the action, that we're going to publicise it and see if there is any. Number 2, urban entrance tidy up project. So we just said agree to leave this on as the action sheet and monitor progress. It still looks like rubbish, but.
Those grasses are growing. They will look better.
The grasses, I don't have a problem with them. It's the edge of the seal. And some of that edge of the seal is actually breaking up as well, where people are coming into park.
Could they not have put other plants other than just all grass?
Yeah, the problem with that was we took out, there were some really nice trees along there, but they were growing the
Not
roots.
only trees, like, like the smaller flats. They're mixed them, that would have been really nice.
We honestly have looked at quite a lot of different ones. I think these, the tussocks that have been planted, they will grow and completely cover that area.
Yeah, but it's just grass.
Yeah, it's just grass.
It's boring.
It is. I don't know. My concern was the edge of the seal is it's breaking up where people come into park, and it's on a main road. It looks a mess, and the grass is growing out to the edge of the seal. So if there's anything that can be done about that, it would be really good, but it just looks a mess at the moment. So I'm not keen to take that off yet, unless everyone else is going to give up on it. Number 3, the 150-year celebration. We haven't gone any further on that.
We have a
We do.
Maybe we could have it after they've had that opening or the celebration for the soldiers.
Yeah, okay. Number 4, Hanmer Heritage Forest. Determine the areas of importance. So have you had any communication with Heritage Forest people on that?
We had a track network group meeting this morning, and there is about 100 metres of the amble that yet to be cleared. That is actually quite a complex job, but we are looking at progressing that as quickly as possible. Once that 100 metres has been cleared, then superficial work, we can get the amble open up pretty quickly after that. So it is about 100 metres of work that needs to be done. It would appear that Matariki are giving the Forest Trust, Heritage Forest Trust, permission to employ their own people to go in and do that 100 metres at speed. So they're looking into that this afternoon and trying to get a price and time this afternoon. And we may be able to get that open fairly quickly. We reckon about 3 days' work to clear that 100 metres. Be almost ready to open superficial work, but we could actually get it open.
Okay, in relation to that, Lindsay just sent me a text before.
Yeah.
He's the chair of the Heritage Forest Trust. He said, okay, had a meeting at the forest and came up with a plan that they clear the remainder of the trees and also create a new path through the logged area, which is the 100 metres you're talking about. He has run it by his boss, Josie, and had the okay to go ahead. Also, Sarah has given the all clear to, that's Sarah DeGao, Matariki, has given the all clear to work in the area. They will start on Wednesday.
Brilliant. So a bit of voluntary work after that to sweep and get away the branches and everything else like that, and we may get it broken up within a week or so. That'd be brilliant news.
Through in a check. Is that going to reopen the sculpture walk?
Yes.
And that's going to allow the park run to happen through there again, that sort of thing?
I don't have the park run.
I think let's
Only the sculpture walk at this
let's
stage.
get the sculpture walk open and running first and see the implications as the park run. Park run is working really well in its new location. It's probably best to let it lie until all those works have been completed, because there still will need. It will still need to be fencing or signs or tape to stop people going from the sculpture wall south.
Yep.
So I think just suck it in the sea at the moment.
Because my understanding is that Matariki don't have a whole lot of people working there, and they're not working there full time.
I think that they've got so much work to do in the area, you know, the huge amount of work at Balmoral as well. I think that this is not high on their priority. That's when they've actually, I think, passed it back to us and said, if you can do it, do it.
Which is what we would have loved to have done in the first place.
Well, they did say, they did, originally they said the end of January that it would be complete. Then we had such awful weather in January that it was delayed, but the fact that we are now approximately 3 days away from that means we've done pretty well. They've done well, and we've done well. And I think that the fact that we're now probably within a week of opening it from Wednesday is good all round.
Yep. So the other discussion here was that members suggested they could formally meet with the Heritage Forest Trust to determine the areas of importance in the forest and make it known to Ngāi Tahu that there's interest in purchasing land should the opportunity ever arise. We actually haven't discussed that anywhere yet with anybody either, have we?
No, but I think myself and officers have been looking into the legal contract over the use of the heritage forest and are investigating that further to see whether or not our rights can be strengthened or enhanced. Guarantee our use of that heritage forest, I think it would be fair to say.
So this is the covenant.
Well, there's a memorandum of understanding in place that allows us to use the heritage forest.
Yep.
We're also looking at historic covenants and restrictions and benefits that may be applicable to the land, and I will share whatever findings we have at the earliest possible opportunity. But it is an active investigation, not an inactive one.
Okay, so if we add that to the status of the action, as the covenant and the MOU are being looked at.
So how will we notify the village that the Heritage Walk is open, or the Sculpture Walk is open?
I think the Forest Trust are the ones that have it, so we will be working with them to ensure that once they give us the go-ahead, we'll make sure that it is publicised as quickly as possible. But the Forest Trust are the ones, custodians, who are looking after that. But working with them, because we've obviously guaranteed them money and encourage them to seek local help and support to do that tidying up, voluntary support. I think that they're fully aware of the urgency.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, number 5, Chorus Fibre Network.
Nothing to report on that, apart from what we said earlier on about the batteries being explored and possibly upgraded.
Okay, Hanmer River Reserve Freedom Camping Area. Says that officers asked to fix all potholes under reserve maintenance and consider general tidy up. Well, there's more potholes there again, not quite as bad as they were. Well, the road going in isn't quite as bad as it was, but it needs constant grading to keep that from happening. There's the first place that potholes form is where you leave the seal, because it's on a hill. It almost like that hill area needs to be sealed. So I'd really like to have a bit more of a discussion at some stage with Dan and his crew about how we might do that. And then also, once you get in there, there is a loop that originally has been formed but hasn't been graded or looked after for ages. But then there's a further loop on that loop, which is just nothing but massive big potholes, and nothing is being done about it. So we need to have something going forward, some discussions on there of how we're going to fix it and what we're going to do there. The car parks are just a big mud hole, and that extra loop where you've got the vans have got to drive around is just a muddy mess.
So, Madam Chair, the board asked for a report at the last meeting, so that's gone on to the officer's action sheet, so it'll come in due course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't on here that there was a report requested, so that's good.
Oh, sorry, Madam, that was in the minutes, but yeah, we have.
I'm sure that officers will come back and tell you you can have whatever you want.
At a cost.
But the question is, how do you pay for it?
Well,
because council doesn't get any money from Freedom Campers.
Donations.
well, I mean, we've had discussions ourselves, like at Scargill, they've got a pay system there, and maybe we need to look at something like that. Or are these car parks tied up with our freedom camping bylaw so that we can't ask for money for them?
No, freedom camping doesn't necessarily mean it's free.
Okay, excellent.
And how many do we have to provide, how many for Hanmer itself?
Oh, there's no set numbers, but there's an expectation that freedom campers can camp anywhere on council land unless there's a specific restriction in place. And we've restricted huge areas and have provided areas where freedom campers can camp. We could undo that, and freedom campers could camp anywhere basically on council land. So, you know, it's
On the road reserve in front of your house.
yep.
What a tent.
So, I mean, that's the law. You know, there's the government believes that freedom campers should be allowed to camp anywhere on council land.
Unless we say so in a bylaw.
Yeah, unless you can stipulate the health and safety of the persons. There's about 4 or 5 criteria, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, but you've got to quantify that.
So our bylaw, we can look that up on the site, and it will have maps of where you can't. Yeah, that's right. So if anybody.
So you can't camp anywhere in Hanmer Springs Village except for the the spot bucks out here at Chisholm.
Yeah.
And that's the only places in the village. So it's four places where freedom campers can camp in the village, and there's been that area down at that domain for freedom campers to camp. Doesn't necessarily mean you've got to provide facilities or anything else.
But there is a toilet down there at the
There is a toilet down there.
and then the campers on the other side of the road for the New Zealand Campers Association will just come across there and use it.
Yep.
And they pay to park there.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be a massive ask if we started looking at them paying to be by the river. Because there's only, what, 10 allocated parks?
There is.
Yeah. So if we're going to get a report on this, we'll wait and make all our comments work on that.
So if you're charging, of course, it becomes a campground.
The donations.
I think you'd probably get away with Koha.
Okay. So we'll wait for that report and have a big discussion about it then. So the Hanmer Springs Hall roof update requested. Have we got anything?
Yeah, the way.
Okay. Really? 11,000 in halls repairs and maintenance, so it's sort of all tied up in this area. Update requested, so we'll wait for some feedback on that. Conical Hill Reserve Concept Plan Review. Yeah, so we could bring that up now because it's we said members to organise a walk on site to discuss this. And that was the plan that we've looked at today for Conical Hill. But in addition to that, we didn't get to do a drive around when the board first came on. And with so many new people, it would be good to be able to do that. So we were wondering if it was possible that we could have a van and drive around to some of these places, having a look at what does come under the council, things like the sewer and the water and where all our stuff is.
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Chair.
For our next meeting day.
Yep, with governance officers, we can arrange that.
I guess the only place is often you have a track network group in the morning on a meeting. Is that all?
Yeah, we had track network today, so we won't have it next time.
Oh, okay.
So it's all good.
So you're thinking before the meeting would suit best?
I think so, road, yeah.
Okay.
For our road trip.
We can plan for that.
Thank you.
9 AM, 9:30, something like that. How long do you want to go?
10 sounds.
10 o'clock?
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
There is, this may not be of relevance, there is on the 10th of March a Westward bus tour. Is that?
That's on the Tuesday.
Yes. Is that looking at the same things?
No, that's for councils.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry.
Right, 10. Oh, this is the transfer of the disc golf. We were supposed to get some feedback for this meeting, but Josie had been unwell for part of January. She has told me that she will definitely have something for the next meeting. There was most people would have seen there was a whole lot of stuff on Facebook about why and where. And all pretty favourable, and Josie has indicated to me that most of the feedback is favourable. Few people asking for things like, well, if you're going to have something down there, you need toilets, you need car parking, you need this, you need that. But I mean, our whole thing with Tarndale is that it's a partial wilderness and an underutilised reserve that we're going to use for disc golf. Toilet of some sort might be of relevance, but don't know about parking, but that, I guess we can talk about that when she provides all the feedback in the next meeting. 11, beautification of the area outside the 4 squares. So I have had a quick chat with Annie and John. They would like to see, and they did indicate, John did indicate this when he's talking to us, just low level planting, like planter boxes with seating perhaps, and they're willing to contribute part payment. But if we could come up with a design, maybe our local guys who have got mountains of work already, to come up with some sort of concept for outside the front there and put a price on it. So we've got some kind of estimate that we can provide Annie and John with. That would be a way forward. So could we ask for that, please?
You can say local guys, you're talking about the officers.
Yes.
Okay.
Village green concept. So we need to shore up exactly how much money is left out of that fund for the concept, so we could start looking at that. I think Tom did mention that at the last minutes, it's in the minutes of the meeting anyway, that we could start looking at a concept for the village green with the money that's left there. So if that can be added to the status of the action, please.
Through you, as we heard this morning, the Tree Network Group are actually happy with the signage that has gone in, particularly in other parts of the village, and will not want any further signs on the village green. I just need to double check that, because that was said and not every member was there this morning. I need to double check that, but that was a fairly, that should A, free up money because they're not doing the works that was originally planned, and B, free up the opportunity to look at things that we can do there now without the signage that was proposed. So we'll have more space and should be able to do something fairly useful.
So if we can just add those comments to the status. So that's the end of the immediate action sheet. Then there's annual review item. Look at, and I'm just explaining some of it because some of you are new for it. So the Hanmer Springs severe weather closure protocol. We do an annual review of that. And I think the next one's due June. No, it was June 25. So I guess we need to see that, and probably you want it before any adverse weather events. So it might be May that is more appropriate if we had that for review. May 26. So it's just what procedure officers and anybody will go through to if we have a severe weather event. Number 2, inventory of council buildings in Hanmer. This has been here, was it? 25th, the 11th, 21. What happens with this, please? I mean, I know there's an explanation there of, you know, what they're doing, but is there going to be a concluding date or?
So we're getting very close. We've been going district-wide with all our buildings and trying to figure out what we own and what we don't own, because it's not straightforward in many cases. And we're getting very close to having a district-wide inventory completed.
Oh, that's right, yes. Our doomsday thing we talked about before. So I know, but that was mentioned last time. We said it was getting very close, so.
What's this space?
No timing.
No, I mean, it's one of those how long is a piece of string things, and who's got time in their day to do it. So it's not someone working full time on this or anything else.
Okay. So our buildings here in Hanmer haven't been assessed yet necessarily?
I think probably they mostly have. There's probably just a couple that are being worked through still.
Okay. Number 3, Hanmer Springs snow plan. That's going to come back to us May 26 as well. The snow plan is like if we know there's going to be a really big snow event coming up, we have things in place like the graders and the whatever else to clear the roads, and which roads are cleared first, that kind of thing. So we'll be running through that in May. Fitness equipment maintenance update. We've previously talked about this, and some of this equipment is past, it's overdue date. It's overdue. Some of the equipment we have no means of repairing it, and it's obsolete. It can't be repaired. So as that equipment fails, then the board agreed to remove it. I did receive an email from a member of the public to say that there was some equipment that needed fixing, and I passed that on to Josie, but I haven't heard. She said she'd come back to me with the outcome, but I haven't heard anything back yet. But she has that in hand. The Conical Hill ramp, that's just an ongoing thing that each year we photograph that area, and I think that's down to Chris, just to make sure that there's no slumping of that wall at the entrance of Conical Hill. And then the next lot of stuff is the long-term plan matters. And these are, sorry, when is our long-term plan due for discussion next year?
We've started on it already, so this year it should come to you at some stage for your input into what you want to see in the long-term plan.
Goody. Okay. So these here are just a list like of all the things that we want to discuss with the long-term plan. So 1 to 12 are all the different things that we have indicated we want to discuss. And I think, yeah, the 150 years, we haven't included that in the long-term plan, but we need to include that somewhere in here on the list for our 150-year celebration, because there is a few things that we wanted to do for that, if we can, or at least talk about it.
So, Madam Chair, it'd probably be remiss of me not to mention, when you're talking about the long-term plan, that the government is proposing to introduce rates capping.
Yes.
And the rates capping is probably at rates that are lower than the rate of inflation, which means that any new projects coming forward will mean that something else has to get bumped out. So that's just a cheerful thought we have to think about when you're thinking about long-term planning.
It might be worth having that as the heading there, just so we keep that in mind. We did know that was coming. Will that affect projects that we already have in the long-term plan, say out at year 8, 9, 10?
Yep, if they contribute to an increase in rates, yes. Yeah, well.
Okay.
I mean, that's been the experience of overseas where rates capping has been introduced, that it's eventually meant that no capital projects go forward because the 2 to 4% band is not enough to maintain what we have with inflation, let alone do new stuff.
So it's going to be an interesting workshop then, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think that you still need to work on it and say this is what our community wants and needs, because that's your obligation. But a lot of those things might never make it to fruition.
Okay. Excellent.
Not through rates funding. And debt funding has the effect of increasing rates as well, so not so much, but council doesn't have a lot of debt headroom at the moment.
Okay. Right, well, that's something to look forward to. Thank you.
I'm always a ray of sunshine.
Okay, does anyone thing I've said to add there is the some funding for the 150-year celebrations. Is there anything else anyone wants to add to that list at this stage? We'll wait and see. Okay. And then it's just council updates. Page 900. And from the January meeting, 101, 102. My only question was about the water, so you've already answered that. And is there anyone else got any questions on any of the council update? And then on page 104, the very last page, just please, can we have some clarification about what dog stream review is covered and what is covered by the general rate, which of those reserves? Because it's no longer Dog Stream or Dog Creek Reserve, it's combined reserves which cover. So should that read combined reserves, which covers Brook Dawson, Tarndale, and Dog Stream?
How old would that Dog Creek Reserve name been?
Oh, before Brook Dawson.
Absolutely.
That's what it was, and it's been
In 1880.
20 plus years. 2025. So there you go.
It is from YouTube service,
Oh, it is.
different names and the rivers have different names.
Yeah, that does make sense.
It is. But if we can find out what can have it noted there that it's combined reserves and which reserves fall under that, because those combined three reserves. Okay, any other general business? Something we've missed?
You right.
I did too. Picking up and here too, Yep, Anzac Wreath. My quick conversation with Annie at Foursquare, she suggested that we could have an Anzac Wreath done using not fresh flowers. I don't like the word fake either, but you know what I mean. And she said that maybe around $200. In the past, the community board used to always do an Anzac wreath, but I know that hasn't been happening in the last few years. I'd like to reinstate that if other board members.
I'd like to say that for the last 3 years, there has been a Ruanui District Council / Community Board wreath laid by myself.
Yes.
On behalf of the community. And it has been funded by myself and a local resident who makes it for me. So it has been done for at least the last 3 years.
I understand.
But if you want to do something better, fine.
Oh,
You're
a theatre.
No. You said we haven't done it for a few years, and we have.
Oh, yeah, I know there's been a council one, and overall we're part of the council as well. But in the past, it has been the council has done a wreath, and the community board has. And I'd like to reinstate that. If we
could you do a combined one that you go and lay with the councillor as the chair of the community board? So it's very obvious that there's a.
What's everyone like to do? That sound fine?
Yeah, I think so. You can't hold hands up.
Pardon?
That's all right, it doesn't matter.
Sorry, missed that.
Hello.
Okay, so
just for clarity, if I've been here in attendance, I will bring a wreath that would have been provided by Hanmer District Council. So that is a Hanmer District Council representation, as it would be. I mean, I try and alternate between Amberley and Dawn Services here. Can't remember where I'm at. Maybe I'm here this year, I don't know, can't remember. But
It's not opening in the afternoon.
correct, that's right. So I was in Amberley at 6 a.m. So if I was in attendance on behalf of the district, I would bring a wreath that would be made in Amberley, but I would bring this to this service. Just for clarity.
so that's the council.
But yes, that's right. That's a council one. If I was present, I guess. But we've done, yeah.
But
So do you want, I was asking the board, do you want to have an Anzac wreath that the board pays for on behalf of the community?
Could we do it in alternate years, like if Mara's presenting one from the council, and then the alternate year when she's not here, we have one from the community board, which is under that sort of auspices as well.
I'm always mindful of money. I do have a good source who makes a very nice, acceptable wreath that looks very presentable and very good and professional on the day. I'm quite happy to continue with that. If you would like to put your name on the tag as chair of the community board as well, be more than happy to arrange that.
It doesn't have to have my name in line, so it's not what I'm asking. But I think to have the community board from the community, for the community involved in it. But if
You go with one for the community
I
board.
think that's a great idea to have a separate one for the community board.
or can we combine with what you do? Do you want to be?
I'm sure I can do that.
Well, let's talk about it, yes. Okay.
Be a bar of top. Well,
Yes. Okay.
I'm going to bring up about who's running the community Anzac Day parade this year, or is that something?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a message from Fletch. He said he is a one-man band in charge of this, and he is going to continue to organise it. He starts his prep work March the 1st as usual. There'll be a very small contingent from Burnham coming this year, very small, he emphasised. The Hanmer Big Band, Marguerite, will play prior to the ceremony as usual. There is a new reverend, and she will be speaking. I think it's a she, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hillary.
Okay. At the cenotaph, and usually the national anthem gets sung when we're down at the cenotaph, but we're going to change that so that we're singing the national anthem once everyone walks up to the hall. The bugle will be played this year by Laurie Bennett. And Lorna, you did mention that the choir, you're going to talk to someone.
Wednesday evening.
Yeah, someone about the choir. And in the past, we've had choir singing at the front there, and I mean, they could lead the national anthem. But Fletcher said anything to do with the Anzac Parade, please ring him. If anybody asks anybody who's organising it, give them his number. He's the one-man band in charge. So, yeah, that's the update I got from Fletch the other day. Any questions?
sure you'll do a great job.
I did mention to him that it didn't really work very well when everyone was just told to wander up, and then the marches came afterwards. So I think he is going to get, well, he said the fire people they don't want to march as such, but he said they will lead everybody up from the cenotaph to the hall here for the flag. So if anybody else has got any comments, any whatever, they can talk to Fletch. He's in charge. So have I missed anything else? No. Brooke Dawson's seat clarification, what was that?
Clarification of the one there,
Something that, yeah.
Oh, that's
The tag.
yeah, okay, that's done. Okay, so it's 4:01. And if there's nothing, I'll declare the meeting closed.
Thanks, Al. You got this?
And Lorna.
Mā te araha, me te maramatanga, e whakawhirinaki, e totoko, mātou katoa, ake tono, tihe, Māori, ora. Kia ora.
Thank you. Okay.